happened in the 90s.
Matt was the fat kid, Steve was the black kid. Life wasn't always great, but you know what was? The 90s. Happened in the 90s. Yeah!
Professional plumbers on professional strength liquid plumber.
All liquid drain openers are not the same. The thin stuff dilutes in water.
But the thick stuff goes through the water, clings to the hair cloth, and gets it to move on down the line.
The best liquid drain opener is in the gray bottle. Professional strength liquid plumber.
Why the fuck not? It's 100 episodes in. We can do whatever we want now. It's solidified.
100.
That's crazy.
Bye-bye, double digits. Bye-bye.
I'm gonna have to make room on the fucking poster thing, Steve. I don't know what to do with 3 fucking numerals. As the graphic designer, I'm trying to figure out what to do here. I'm panicking.
Well, would it save space to go Roman?
There you go. I don't know. Hundo? What's a hundo in Roman? I don't even know. I'm not that affiliated with the Greeks. The Romans or whatever.
100 in Roman numerals is a C. So there you go.
There we go. We're at C. Episode C, Steve. Hell yeah. We made it.
Episode motherfucking C. C unit.
Did you ever think we'd get here, Steve? Did you think the world would last long enough for us to get 100 episodes into this show?
I don't know what I'm going to wear today for work. Like, I don't know. I didn't know, to answer your question. Like, I don't know what I'm going to eat today.
Yeah, I mean, I'm walking around in just like a haze of bong smoke. Just, I don't really know what... We were trying to think of what to eat tonight, and I don't even know what I'm going to do. And that's in a couple hours. So we're living on the edge here.
Man, it's clutch time.
Living on the edge.
100 though, man. Like, that's a mark, bro. That is a motherfucking mark, cuz.
I feel like we're upgrading. We're going. We've made it this far. We've upgraded slowly but surely. And now episode 0, we had nothing. We had us, a Zoom account, not even some good mics from what I remember. I didn't even have a good mic at that point.
There was no green screen, no background, no fancy background for you. I was on my snowball mic and laying on my grandpa pillow, as my friend Lisa would say.
Yeah,
those first couple episodes, I was on my grandpa pillow.
Well, that's it's comforting, Steve. And we made it through. Now we have better mics. I mean, I have a legitimate back. I got some decor. You got a green screen. We got fucking merch that we're selling now. I mean, are we becoming business people, Steve? Is that what's slowly happening here?
We're upgrading.
We're upgrading. We're upgrading for you guys. But no, all jokes aside, it is cool that we made it this far. But we're not done. We're not done by a goddamn sight. And we got to talk about some shit today that I'm fired up. So I'm fired up like Al Pacino in The Huddle, Steve.
You gotta look at the guy next to you. Look into his eyes. Now, I think you're gonna see a guy who will go that inch with you.
Hoo-ha!
I'm fucking Jesse Spano. I'm fucking getting my tailpipe licked by Jesse Spano in my fucking... He was living like by a lake in LA or wherever, or in Miami. It looked crazy, Steve. Al Pacino was living that fat life.
He this is his second time being a Tony in Miami.
See, where I mean, this is the evolution, Steve. If he would have made it and just gotten out of the coke game, he would have been coaching the Sharks in no time.
The Sharks.
The fucking Sharks, dude. Fucking Randy Quaid Randy.
Dude, so as the listeners and viewers have heard, this is our 100th episode.
Give me a hell yeah!
And Matt, I have a little pop quiz, a little mini pop quiz. I'm gonna sneak in. Are you ready?
I'm an expert, dude. I'm ready to fucking go.
Okay, throughout these 100 episodes, what show have we covered the most, and how many times?
I'm gonna say in living color
Mm,
4. No,
nope. Close.
what is it?
South Park.
Scissor me timbers!
What?
We've covered 9 South Park episodes. Uh, Simpsons 7 times, Frasier 6 times, In Living Color 6 times, Martin, Fresh Prince, Married with Children, Seinfeld, and SNL 5 times.
I mean, can you blame us? I'm surprised that a couple of those aren't higher. I mean, but it's South Park. Wow, I'm
There's so
humbled
much
already.
ground.
I thought I knew my shit, Steve. Now I'm worried.
That selection process is hard for us every week, man. We have to skip some shows that we really like, so we can, share the wealth. Here you
In
go,
some
Moesha.
cases, watch for the Quantum Leap. I remember we watched that. I maybe watched a half episode of that with my grandma. I didn't watch that as a kid, so it's nice to go back, and really just catch up.
We covered Quantum Leap twice. We covered MacGyver twice. We covered Walker more than MacGyver. How do you feel about that?
Honestly, the MacGyvers we watch were just kind of boring and blasé. So maybe it's for the good, because from what I remember, the MacGyvers we watched was him moving to Venice, and then him protecting his neighborhood in Venice. There was no helicopters made with popsicle sticks and fucking him taking a fake pussy and making a grenade out of it. There was none of that.
Man, I don't know. I enjoyed the fuck out of those episodes, but
I'm just saying, if you stack it up, I'll take a Walker where he's whooping the ass of a whole cholo gang over MacGyver taking on some porn guy. I don't really remember what was going on in that, but
with one roundhouse kick.
that's all it takes. It's fucking. There's a sonic boom that Chuck Norris creates with those roundhouse kicks, Steve. So good luck.
We've covered Baywatch 3 times. Family Matters and Doogie Howser, Cheers, Howard Stern, Sister, Step by Step, Walker Texas Ranger 3 times. How do we cover Step by Step more than Boy Meets World? We only cover Boy Meets World 1 time.
Stacy
One
Keating
time.
is the answer to that question, Steve. Because anytime you see an episode of Step by Step, your perverted ass is like, yeah, yeah.
I mean, hey, bro, she was lushing out, had to get on
I
that.
really don't blame you. Stacy Keenan is maybe one of the she's an unsung diva of the '90s, Steve.
But I'm sorry, Topanga. I'm sorry, Matthews family. I'm sorry, Sean. We got to get you guys in the mix more. And Drew Carey show only twice because the streaming services. We covered Daria more than Boy Meets World, and we never really fuck with that. But Daria was kind of like, oh shit, it's summertime. Daria.
Yeah. But honestly, some of those Darias though, I didn't hate on them. They're fine. It's nostalgic, I didn't watch Aeon Flux all the time, but when I see an episode, I'm into it. Herman's head, head. I've totally forgot about it. We only covered that once, but I mean, it wasn't something that we regularly tuned into. But that's what we're here for. We're chronicling even the misses, even the rare misses that we take to task on this show. We're doing it for the people, Steve. So,
Man, I don't remember the Cheers episodes. I think we did one with Harry Anderson from Night Court. There was one about a rivalry with the other pub across the street or something like that. I don't know if that was the same episode. Yeah.
I think there was a Frasier-centric episode too that we watched, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe that's what we're talking about, and that was just part of it. I'm more of
Yeah.
a see because I'm a Frasier guy, so I'm more centered towards that. If it's not the Crane gentleman, I'm not as into it. Steve, call me fancy, but
Now, now, how many episodes have been scrapped by Al Gore's internet, by the YouTube?
oh, hmm. I should know this because I have anxiety every time we upload one that we're gonna get fucking popped again. But I mean, it hasn't been. It's a low percentage. I'm saying 8, and I think I'm unless I just haven't gone back and seen that we've gotten popped on some other ones. I'm thinking like 8.
Oh man, that's lofty. 5.
Oh,
We've
nice.
been scrapped by YouTube 5 times. They were episode 77, 63, 62, 44, and 13. All because of Vince.
Yeah, I mean that's the problematic thing about doing this show where we're trying to like reference these shows, and I think it's good, people watching on YouTube and stuff, maybe that have never seen these things. It's fun just to cut from us to like memes and shit like that, but I do think it helps to have a visual reference for what we're talking about specifically. And when
Yeah.
you do that, Vince or and whoever, I sometimes it doesn't make any sense what they actually like flag and shit. But yeah, YouTube is not kind to people that are just trying to do like reviews and I guess like nostalgia bomb videos. If you try to use somebody, and it rightfully so, if it was my show, I wouldn't want somebody to just steal it, but we're not stealing it.
If
This is
they want to cover my
fair
machine,
use.
yeah, use the Ken Burns effect on still portraits. Ugh.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's what I was gonna do for a while, but then I figured, fuck it. And I think we figured it out pretty well. Like putting the warning up at the beginning is what a lot of people do. I think, and again, that's part of growing the show a little bit is figuring that out because you get on YouTube, there's people fucking putting full episodes of the shit on. You just got to figure it out. You can do it, and we're gonna keep doing it until YouTube just completely clamps down on us, and then I don't know. Then we just become like a depressed dude podcast. I don't know, Steve. But until then, we're gonna keep pushing. So
Yeah, that covers some episodes of the show. But how many of the films that we've covered in detail can you name?
oh god, fuck you, Steve.
Marijuana affects the memory.
All right, where are we at here? So definitely, what was the Denzel fucking movie? Virtuosity. Did that.
Virtuosity,
We got that. Judge Dredd. We did that. The Stallone
Judge,
one.
Judge Dredd, yeah.
Uh, I mean, I know there's more, but Steve, I'm sorry.
Okay, so we had Batman Forever. We
Mm.
did Blair Witch Project. We did Billy Madison, Blank Man, Fluke, fucking Fluke. In the Army Now,
Oh,
Judge
dude.
Dredd, Mallrats, Menace to Society, Mortal Kombat, Natural Born Killers, Pulp Fiction, Speed, Street Fighter, Tommy Boy, Virtuosity, and Robin Hood, Men in Tights.
Damn, we actually have done some. We try to avoid that, I think, but hell yeah. Man, I have a bad memory, Steve. I suck. But I treasure the time, It's I enjoy it, but I guess I don't remember it, so shame on me.
It's all in a capsule called Happen
That's
in the
why
90s
that's
YouTube.
why we record this shit, Steve, because we're like Richard Nixon. We need to remember
Uh, uh, we did 2 Clash of Champions, a Hardcore Heaven, a King of the Ring. We did 2 Nitros. We did a Raw. We did a Royal Rumble, a SummerSlam, a Survivor Series, a UFW event, and a WrestleMania. I believe we covered 2 WrestleManias, if I'm not mistaken. Uh, we covered 7 and 12.
And some great highlights of wrestling history in those episodes too. Shockmaster, NWO's Inception, basically, like the full story leading up to and including Hulk turning.
How
Uh,
about Flying Brian pulling a fucking gat out on Stone Cold?
yeah, that might be one of my favorite just segments in general, Steve. We had so much fun with that.
In
And why?
Cincinnati,
How
of
could
all
you
places.
not? Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Pillman's fucking pilled up, coked up, and just gadded up. Steve, he's ready to go.
Fucking Macho Man has his career-ending match against the Warrior. Fucking Stone Cold's promo after winning King of the Ring in '96. Hogan shocks the world by going to the dark side.
I mean, multiple Rick Rude segments where he's cutting the music, whether it's on WCW or WWF, WWE.
Man,
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we really, that's like our symphony is when we do wrestling stuff. I think we both, that's kind of how we mutually like bonded anyway when we met.
yeah.
So I feel like that it's sort of fitting that that's where it's our comfort zone, you know? Especially for you. You're like a historian of the shit.
My friends always say that. Until I
You
meet
know
someone.
the deep cuts. Like I remember a
Yeah.
lot of shit that I think like if you were just like a general wrestling fan, you probably wouldn't remember, but you know like the shit like the insider shit. Like you need to work on Vice and like behind the dark side of the ring
Well,
shit, you know?
Vice, you hear that?
Just hire the man. You fucking up.
Jeez, motherfuckers.
Having a meat locker set at 0 degrees. Why? To get you to switch to twin value. My job is to monitor the competition and make sure nobody has lower prices. Because if they did, I'd be forced to put my tongue on this metal bar, freezing it instantly and causing great pain upon removal. I don't want to do that. So please switch to twin value for lower prices, because it's my job. And more importantly, my tongue.
Well, man, for the 100th time, my friend. Hey, boys and girls, this is Steve G and Matt G with Happened in the 90s, a show where we talk about what happened in the 90s. So get out your Life with Louie box sets and your Mr. Hanky t-shirts, because it's all good, it's all right, fuck all day, fuck all night. Call my bitches, because wherever I go, y'all my bitches, east to the west coast, all my bitches.
Tell all them bitches, Steve. Tell all them bitches. You know what? I love seeing in any given Sunday's credits, whenever they list the DMX songs, he's credited as just what's his name, Earl Simmons or
Earl Simmons.
Yeah, it's written in it's written by Earl Simmons. I love that. The
His
government just
name
for
is
that,
Earl.
you know, he got paid.
What if they like cast DMX in My Name is Earl? That would have been way better. And I like Jason Lee, but I mean, it's the X-Man.
I mean, it was about trailer trash anyway, and I mean, I feel like if you watch that DMX reality show, he had a lot of like trailer trash vibe to him. He just had a lot of money, you know.
Fucking like I loved when he was on Ayanla. I think I pronounced her name right. Ayanla is supposed to be like a psychiatrist of some sort. She gets these celebrities and like tries to piece together their personal turmoil and their families. And DMX was on there. He called her a bitch a couple times. He's like he was trying to talk to his son, and Ayanla, she fucking interjects. She's like, oh, "I'm talking to my son, bitch." Well, you should not call me such things. And she's just being all very like professional. And the DMX is DMX, man. He's X-Man.
That's why I like that show because like he wasn't going to turn it off. He would be like cracked out in a great. There was a segment where he's supposed to be, at least in the show, in the booth with Swiss Beats. Swiss Beats is like, he's like 2 hours late. Where is this guy? Call DMX. Where the fuck is DMX? My time's more valuable than this. They call DMX. He's sweating like his ass off, cracked out with a couple of guys, and he's in a gas station schooling the owner, the guy working, on how to make scrambled eggs in a microwave. I mean, it wasn't great for him probably, but it was great TV. It was like it was a reality show, I think. I think it was just his reality show, but it was wild.
Yeah, I didn't like seeing him in that light, man.
I
I
just
mean,
thought
I
it
hate
was
to be a
funny.
downer. I mean, yeah, of course, we all like a bad train wreck, man. I mean, I think the Bobby and Whitney show lasted a couple seasons for that exact purpose.
Damn, I forgot that that even existed. It's been so long. I did forget about that. But I think even like in the DMX one, if you remember, like he got arrested for impersonating a cop, where he
Yeah,
had like he just put like a cop light on and pulled somebody over or something like that. And I think that actually happened like while not on the show, like they didn't like air it, but like while they were filming so that show. So that's how crazy he was acting. Uh, maybe some scumbag producer was just like, "Yo, he is losing his mind right now, so let's get him on a contract. Let's just get some
yeah.
cameras rolling on this immediately."
Imagine that getting pulled over by Earl Simmons.
Yeah, what the fuck?
Well, today, my friend, we're talking about all things December 22nd in the 90s. Starting off in 1992, the R&B group Shy releases their debut album, If I Ever Fall in Love. And that album has Comforter, Baby, I'm Yours, if you win it. I feel like it was on Family Matters. I think they performed that maybe.
Oh wow.
I could
Okay.
see Laura in her fucking cheesy ass outfit or whatever for the episode dancing to that at some like school pep rally or some fucking Winslow
Ah,
bullshit.
Kyle,
And
this music's too sexual, Kyle.
ah, and but the track, this is like one of the greatest R&B songs ever performed, written, anything. If I Ever Fall in Love, because the shit it's so good they had it on there twice. It was twice on the album, man. The regular
Damn.
version that we heard on the radio in the videos, and then there was an acapella version. It's just very soulful. It was unique. This is 1992, and you know we had Boys to Men already, but like they didn't finesse some shit like this. I bet Boys to Men heard this song and like fuck.
They did
We
it.
need to
They
do some
got
shit.
us.
Yeah. It's just, and if I ever fall in love again, I will be sure that the lady is a friend.
I think didn't they do that on Martin?
No,
No?
that's no.
Okay. Man, I thought he did like saying some like that in a crazy way. Maybe I'm misremembering. But that's crazy. I do remember that song.
That's it
What is
sticks
that?
with
What
you,
is the
man.
name of the band or the group?
Shy, spelled
Shy.
SHAI.
Oh wow.
Yeah. But after that, they released an album that following year in 1993. Yeah, didn't spin the
Shy.
needle.
They shied away. Did they shy away from success, Steve?
They shied away from public knowledge.
Yeah, I mean, I is there any significance to the spelling? Is it just a creative spelling? I'm wondering because like to me, I didn't even think of that way to spell it, Steve. Maybe I'm stupid, but
I mean, it was the 90s. It's like, hey, it was the early 90s too. Like, let's spell shy in a fucking,
that's
I don't
wacky.
know,
Let's go with it. I like that, Steve.
ambiguous. Based out of DC, they actually met at Howard University. Um, yeah, I don't know how the name came about, man, but that following year, 1993, The Nanny airs the Christmas episode. Much to his children's disappointment, as well as Fran's, Maxwell has to be in Washington, D.C. on Christmas Day. Meanwhile, Fran has overextended herself in buying gifts.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can both just come out of the gates here and just say that this was a sort of a last minute select, just because of some information, and I don't care for put me in jail, Steve. Put me in 90s jail because I could give a fuck about the nanny. Okay. But that being said, the end of this episode made me laugh out loud and almost snort coffee out of my nose how ridiculous it was. So we'll get to it.
Definitely. I mean, I don't give a fuck about the nanny either, or most things CBS, but I care about some Fran Drescher's. Look how
you're
Fran
into it,
Drescher.
huh? See,
Oh, I'm
this
into
is a
this.
nightmare to me. This is scary to me. I don't like it.
Well, you know what it is, man. I believe there's a porn parody and of the nanny, and the actress she resembles Fran Drescher, and I think that's what does it.
Is it
That
called the
that rabbit hole.
Fanny? Because that's really the only thing I can think of to.
Possibly, or I think it's either that or there's a porn actress who just straight up looks like her,
Oh,
and
okay. All right.
yeah,
I thought maybe you knew something I didn't. Like maybe there's a secret Fran Drescher R-rated movie that just it's like fucking Sliver or something where she just banging a fucking Baldwin or something in a movie. Guess not, but Fran, she can get it, and it's fine. And clearly she can get it because she's about to land this fucking multi-millionaire guy that she's nannying for.
oh,
Um,
pussy ass Pierce Brosnan.
yeah, fucking scumbag ass. What's the guy that we Hugh Grant? Hugh Grant could
Yeah.
beat this guy's ass, Steve. Tally ho. Tally ho, Fran. I fancy a little roll in the hay.
After some spotted dick.
And it's a Christmas episode, Steve. So we come in. Fred and the kids went ice skating. Niles, the butler guy, the sassy little. There's always a sassy butler in these situations. It doesn't matter where we're at. And he's sort of, decorating for Christmas. He's getting the whole the Sheffield residence ready to go, and sassy attitude, but he's trying to school Fran on some stuff in this episode, Steve, and I appreciate that.
Like cranberries on a string.
Fuck it, why not? Some popcorn, why not? This is not things that I did, but these are the things rich people make their butlers do to get ready for Christmas.
Yeah.
Fuck
But
it.
now
When
it's
you
a
got a
sick of the
guy,
shit.
when you got a guy sitting here, buttling all over your house, fuck it. Put some fucking popcorn on a string, Niles. Get hop two. Let's do this.
But Niles is over it, man. Just because he's doing it doesn't mean he likes it. He's actually considering converting to Judaism because Hanukkah is not as much of a hassle.
Yeah.
Just put up some menorah candles, call it a day.
I mean, you got Fran right there just to ask some questions because that's one thing I was wondering. I was like, isn't this chick Jewish? And she is, but she's open, Steve, and she's wanting to, get into them draws of Mr. Sheffield. So whatever. And she loves these kids and whatnot, which I still don't get because right at the beginning, these kids are like all hoity-toity, and she starts throwing up tinsel, and the one kid's like, "Tinsel before the lights, you trash!" I'm like, what the fuck, kid?
True Value Ryan Gosling has a mini stroke, and like all these kids are trash. Oh, they fucking suck. All these kids, they don't have the look. Like whoever their competition was in these auditions, they must really be fugly.
Especially
because,
the oldest one. Like I get you got a boy, the younger ones, they're probably gonna grow up. But you selected an adult chick that just like, is that Miss Durr or fucking substitute, Steve?
Yeah.
Is that Miss Durr?
Christina Applegate, you are not, Maggie.
Yeah, Maggie, she's a downer. But Mr. Sheffield, he's into Christmas, Steve. He's very anal about Christmas. And Niles is like, fucking watch out, Fran. Don't be Jewing the place up, if you know what I mean. He won't like it.
He's anal.
And Fran is so committed to these kids that one thing before I almost jumped detail. The kids, they don't really give a fuck about Santa, Steve. They don't believe in Santa. They worship Edna, their personal shopper, who buys them all their Christmas gifts every year. And Fran, this like touches something in her head. She's like, this isn't right. I'm gonna buy these kids gifts with my money, which is just stupid.
Like, cause bitch, you don't make enough.
And you're working for a rich guy. Let the rich guy buy the shit. You show up, and also we find out, you're gonna be taking care of these kids on Christmas while this guy's in Washington, D.C. with Cece, the bitch goddess, doing something with the Kennedy Center. We never get any details. He's got to give a speech at the Kennedy Center on Christmas. For what?
Yeah, he needs to fuck Cece.
Exactly. That's really what that was. They're trying to get away, and you can tell. Because Cece's a little like, oh, he's not going to have any time to do anything else. Anything else.
And Grace annoys the fuck out of me. Like no present pleases her. I just want my daddy here. Bitch, y'all rich. He'll be back.
You can get a TV, kid. You can get whatever. You're living in like a fucking mansion in New York. You can have whatever you want. You could buy a person probably if you want. I mean, fuck it. There's some homeless guy outside. You got a butler yourself. You got your own personal butler. You're good.
Each of y'all probably have the Zach Morris phone in your fucking room. You can call that motherfucker when he gets off the plane. How about that?
I mean, it's, you know, it's fine. You're going to be fine. You got Niles to hang out with. You got Fran to hang out with. You got Edna to hang out with. And, but, you know, the dad's cool, but he has to go. And seems kind of apologetic about it, but he's going to do it. So he's like, Fran, thank you. And while all this is happening, Fran is worried about money. She talks about, she comes back with her friend, which I've never seen in these episodes. She has a best friend. I think her name's Val.
Yeah.
It's like New Jersey garbage. And she's buying these gifts with she's writing Fugazi checks, Steve. And she tells Niles this. She's like, look, I'm writing some fucking iffy checks here on these kids' gifts. So what do you think I ought to do? And Niles is like, well, you know, luckily Mr. Sheffield's very generous. So you're probably going to get a bunch of money. We're talking 4-figure bonus here. So just wait it out. And again, I'm questioning, it's like buying your boss a gift. What are you doing? You're just giving him his money back.
A man who has everything already. And we're at the merry morning of the day before Christmas, because pussy ass families celebrate shit like that. And Max is trying to put together the bike that he got for his son Brighton, which is a pussy ass name. Yeah, it's just cringe all over. But he can't put a bike together because he's a fucking pussy.
Yeah, and then we think he put it together because we just sort of cut away from that, but it turns out he can't because he gives his son a fucking fucked up half-built bike and calls it a bike kit.
Yeah. The wheel is where the seat's supposed to be.
Hey, Dad. And then Niles, bitch ass, sassy ass, gives him a screwdriver to put it together for Christmas. So he's got the right idea. He's all about fucking with these kids. You know, that's what I'd be doing. I'd really be trying to put the screws to these rich ass dilettante ass kids, but you know, they're nice, I guess. And yeah, exactly. And they're celebrating, and they give out gifts, and Fran is assuming she's going to get the same bonus that Niles gets because he gets that check. But when Fran is about she's like, yes, I'm about to get that fucking money. Instead of an envelope, she gets a box filled with a fucking I mean, it looks like a bong, Steve, but, you know, maybe that's my pothead ass just seeing that shit. It looks like some bullshit, you know?
Yeah. Anything's a bong if you stare at it enough.
You put a couple of holes in there, a little bit of water, you're good, Steve. That's a bubbler. But that ain't gonna pay for those gifts. There ain't no bong in town that's gonna pay for whatever you bought these kids. You know, I don't know what you did purchase, but unless it was a Rolex, you should be able to pay for this shit. What are you making?
Maxwell's a hoe. Like, dude, you have a big house. Clearly you have money. You can go to DC on a whim. You do shit at the Kennedy Center. You have functions at the fucking Kennedy Center, and you got your nanny who watches your fucking pussy ass kids 24/7, 365, a fucking base. You punk bitch.
Can I ask one, like, in just the logic of this whole scenario, it's Christmas. You got to go to DC. Maybe instead of just taking some fucking chick that's a downer with you, Cece, take your family with you. They can go to the Kennedy Center. It ain't a strip, unless the Kennedy Center is a strip club in DC, they can go. And then you guys can have Christmas together and avoid all this bullshit. But that's not going to happen. Why do that? It's not going to be good TV, Steve. So Sheffield goes. They get to the airport. Niles actually calls Mr. Sheffield and tells him about what's going on with Fran. So that fucks his head up. And while that's happening, he hears an announcement that his flight's going to be delayed. So he's like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna go handle this. Um, Prior to him finding all this out, Fran had actually pawned her vase off to pay for this.
Yeah,
And I don't know how much money she got, but it didn't seem like a lot from the pawn shop
two
guy.
hundo.
Yeah, so um, the Pawn Stars, the grandfather comes out of the bag and is like, "Hey, big house, I'll give you fucking $200 for that, Steve." I feel like they got away with a steal. That's in '93 or '92 too. That's like $800.
It's a porcelain butt plug,
That's
and like she feels some kind of way about it. It's like the motherfucker did give me something, and here's the thing: like, don't tell a motherfucker it's the thought that counts when they're about to give you a gift, or if they're thinking about getting you a gift before they get you a gift, because they just gonna get you some bullshit. From my experience,
like a vase. Like what function? Anywho, so there's a whole kerfuffle going on now. Mr. Sheffield's coming back to help. Fran tries to get her vase back, and I think she actually does repawn it and goes into debt for it. But regardless, there's this whole thing going on.
she gives her grandmother's watch to him.
That's what it was. So she gives up that heirloom. And then also within all that happening at the airport, Cece sort of gets in this little thing with the airport Santa Claus. You know, it seems like we don't see what happens, but she starts arguing with them, and then TBD, that'll come back to haunt her later. So,
and now we have the family going to a church service, a Christmas church service, and Fran is feeling some kind of way. You know, she feels fucked up that she had to do all this shit. She's writing bad checks. She gave a family heirloom to the pawn shop guy to get the fucking vase, this little miniature vase back that can't fit any damn flower. But she goes into the confessional and she talks to the what do you call him, the father,
the
priest or whatever. Yeah. And you know, she's chopping it up with the priest, with the padre, you know, talking about her grandmother's watch. And before you know it, Maxwell pops in.
He just surprised.
Got her
Like,
watch.
that's crazy. First of all, let's, you know, this isn't a confessional, guys. So let's not, you could have walked in on somebody confessing some real shit. But Maxwell's, he's got a hard on for Fran. Maybe he can smell her shitty perfume that her trash ass is wearing. But he comes in, tells her that he figured he's been told everything. He knows what's going on. He presents her the watch that she pawned off to get the vase back. And in this whole thing, I believe he accidentally like sits on the watch. And I don't know really what happens medically, but something happens in that action that leads to him having to go to the ER, Steve.
No, he doesn't sit on the watch. He sits on that fucking porcelain butt plug.
Oh, okay. Well, then I know what happened. He got penetrated by that bong, and now he's in there. He's going in like a guy who has like a rat in his ass, like Richard Gere. He's like, "Look, I sat down and I think my gerbil went up my butt." They're like, "Okay, whatever, dude. Whatever, dude. You were in a church, sure."
Yeah, if you say so. Has several pieces of fucking vase shot into his asshole.
Luckily, he's got his whole family with him there just to see all this embarrassment, because he's fucking face down, ass up on a fucking gurney. I guess gaped from the fucking vase that he sat on. But while he's being attended to, the Santa that we saw Cece get into it with at the fucking airport comes in. He gets wheeled in, and apparently Cece had a little bit of fucking naughty in her and beat the shit out of the guy. I think something happened with the guy.
She ain't getting no pee-pee, Matt.
Well, I mean, fuck it. Yeah, I mean, that really is what it is. And Santa's a little bit fucking, it's Santa. You don't want to see this. They wheel him in. They have a little loving, you know, they're sharing in the love. And there's a little thing here. And Fran is like, "You know what, guys? How can we do this? It's Christmas. Let's let Santa hang out. Let's let Santa share in the family, you know, this glow that we're all sharing right now, the Christmas spirit." And she takes the curtain. Santa just got wheeled in there a second ago. But Steve, There's nobody there. What?
He's got homes to deliver to.
And that's all we get. It's that stereotypical moment, Steve, where everybody rushes to the window and it's just Santa.
What did he know?
Fucking Judge Reinhold's holding a weenie whistle, like, whoo. But yeah, Steve. So that was a thing. But here's to the Nanny for doing her Christmas. You don't usually see a show go this close to Christmas, you know, and they went right to the wire and gave us a Christmas episode. So
thank you.
But also, I mean, fuck these rich ass kids. This whole situation makes no sense. Get a private jet and take your family. Even take Fran's beautiful ass with you. Go to the nation's capital and bang in the fucking suite someplace. You're rich. What's going on here?
You could take both.
Yeah, why does it always get so complicated? Like even in Home Alone, you got all these kids, you got all this money. You could make it. You could make idiot proof it. You got the money to do so, so use it. You know, Mr. Sheffield, get a suite, get a couple of suites, and Niles can watch the kids, and you can have like a bang vacation with Fran and the other one. Maybe Cece can show up and help relieve a little stress too. You know?
And someone who probably did not watch Sears catalog GoldenEye get shrapnel busted into his ass is probably Tom Hanks and Denzel Washington, because in 1993, December 22nd, Philadelphia premiered in theaters. When a man with HIV is fired by his law firm because of his condition, he hires a homophobic small-time lawyer as the only winning advocate for a wrongful dismissal suit. Directed by Jonathan Demme, starring Tom Hanks, Denzel Washington, Jason Robards, Mary Steenburgen, Antonio Banderas, and Joanne Woodward.
I've seen it. I think it's a very famous movie. It's one of the movies like we were talking about last week, Steve. If you even enjoy it, you ain't watching this a bunch of times. You know, it is what it is.
The early 90s, you had to be there.
But I gotta say, like for somebody, like if you got a couple, right? And on one side is Antonio Banderas, and on the other side is Tom Hanks. What's going on there? Antonio, you could have done way better, you know? You could have done way better, but this is a downer movie. It's about AIDS. Tom Hanks obviously killed it. I think he got an Oscar for this. So you might have even said that in your intro. And yeah, very famous movie. Just not something that I'm going to ever watch again. So
yeah, this was his first Oscar, and you know, he would go back to back like fucking the Lakers, the Bulls, like Drake, and follow that up with Forrest Gump in '94. And he had to lose almost 30 pounds to do this role, man. And Denzel Washington, he was requested to gain some pounds, and to the chagrin of Tom Hanks, Washington would eat chocolate bars in front of Tom Hanks.
I like that too. That makes it that's a great behind the scenes moment. God damn it, Denzel.
And as of this year, 2022, this was the last Denzel Washington role where he does not play the main actor.
Oh, wow. Look at his suave ass there, though. Look at him. I need a mustache like that, Steve. That's fantastic.
And this is just on the heels of Malcolm X. Like Malcolm X was released like late '92. Oh no, this isn't on the heels. This is about a year later.
Yeah.
But I mean, Denzel, as always, man, crushing it through the '90s. And
did he get an Oscar nod for this? Like, was he in it, or was he like for whatever you call it? You know,
for the Academy.
Well, whatever the thing is, it's not leading actor, but supporting actor.
Well, it was nominated for other things outside of Best Actor. It was Tom Hanks and Denzel. He was nominated at the Awards Circuit Community Awards for Best Actor in a Leading Role, but it would go to Tom Hanks.
Because I'm going to burn this motherfucker down. King Kong ain't got shit On me!
So yeah, he was nominated for some things, but Denzel didn't win for this film.
It's a fucking tough one to watch, man, because you watch a dude deteriorate in the movie too. Like he's kind of normal looking at the beginning, and then by the end, Tom Hanks is all withered away and has like lesions all over his body. It's crazy.
Well, I mean, this helped make people aware of HIV because it was still somewhat fresh. People still thought it was like, oh, you can get it from someone breathing on you, or you know, I don't know, playing basketball with them, sweat perspiration falling on you.
Yeah.
People were just ignorant of HIV and how you could contract it.
When it's just so crazy now because of how, like, whenever this came out, it was that. It was like people still didn't really understand it or didn't care to understand it. It was a gay disease. You got it, you died, all this stuff. And now I mean, I feel like it's like AIDS and herpes. It's like they're the same thing at this point. You don't die when you get AIDS. It's just like an annoyance, which is a cool thing. I honestly, it's probably somewhat as a result of awareness being brought to it by movies like this.
And it was praised for that purpose. But in 1995, Dracula, Dead and Loving It premiered in theaters. Mel Brooks' parody of the classic vampire story in its famous film adaptations. Directed by Mel Brooks, starring Leslie Nielsen, Peter MacNicol, Steven Weber, Amy Yazbek, Lizette Anthony, and Harvey Korman.
See, I didn't realize it was a Mel Brooks movie. I knew it was Liam Neeson in the title role of it, but I always assumed, for whatever reason, I thought maybe this was just like an offshoot of the Naked Gun movies he was making. Sort of that same like parody movie, but that's dope, dude. That makes me want to go back and watch it now.
Because that guy that did the Naked Guns, he did like a lot of those parodies too. Like I think it's the same guy that did Airplane, if I'm not mistaken, and he also did Hot Shots.
Oh, that's the same dude. That makes sense. Yeah. I mean, totally. But yeah, this movie is, from what I remember, and you can hear like Amy Asbeck's in this. Just like apparently, this is probably filled with a lot of Mel Brooks alums too, which makes me want to watch it again even more because it's all he never really misses,
And I think was it Harvey Korman? Yeah, he's a regular on the Mel Brooks films, or he was. He's no longer with us, but Leslie Nielsen, man, a fucking legend. And I never seen this. Never seen it.
Watch. I mean, you should definitely watch it. Now that I remember, it's because again, I like sort of attach this to Naked Gun, and I like those movies enough, but I was more of a Hot Shots guy, and but Leslie Nielsen, dude, he's a G, dude. And one thing, he doesn't sort of get the credit. He's always in. Like a lot of our memories, kids of the 90s, he's this guy, like he's in these goofy movies, but he was in a movie, I think it's Creep Show, that's like almost a Tales from the Crypt movie with like different little serial movies in it, and he's in this crazy one where he plays like a guy who's gonna kill somebody, and he plays like a psycho, and he's good at like dramatic acting. He's a really good actor.
And I mean, before he broke big with the parodies, man, he had a whole career doing like serious roles.
Yeah, I mean, he's good. And he's like a very, he's like he looks like one of those he's like a classic actor dude, like celebrity,
One of my favorite Canadians. And on that same day in 95, Grumpier Old Men premieres. John and Max resolve to save their beloved bait shop from turning into an Italian restaurant, just as its new female owner catches Max's attention. Directed by Howard Deutsch, starring Jack Lemmon, Walter Matthau, Anne Margaret, Sophia Loren, Kevin Pollak, and Daryl Hannah.
Yeah, you didn't like these movies, huh?
I just never seen him. I like Walter Matthau. He was Mr. Wilson on the Dennis the Menace in the 90s.
Yeah,
he was Coach Wanamaker from the Bad News Bears days, man. I fucks with the Matthau's, and I fucks with some Sophia Loren. In her heyday, even into her late cougar days.
Dude, I'm telling you right now, Steve, and this is me remembering it, so forgive me if you go back and it's not the case, but these are, this movie is basically The Odd Couple. If you split them up, they live next to each other and hated each other. It's a funny-ass movie because it's just two guys playing pranks on each other. It's hilarious. But the two hot, Sophia Loren and the Italian chick, I mean, They're
and
gilfs,
Margaret.
Steve. They're fucking gilfs, bro. And these two guys are. This whole movie is about these two guys just trying to fuck the whole time, and I love it. It's two old guys just trying to get some sex, Steve.
And I believe isn't that the same crew that did Odd Couple, Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau?
Marijuana affects the memory.
These movies were movies that my parents like took me to, the Grumpy Old Men franchise, because this is a sequel. Um, and I these movies are just fucking funny. The one guy's dad is the trainer from Rocky. What's that guy's
Burgess
name?
Meredith.
Burgess Meredith, and he's
Yeah.
an old salty like pervert in these movies, and he's the best part. Like he walks up to that Italian lady's mom in a grocery store, and he's like,
"What do you say we go back to my house, and I'll show you my man-sized manicotti." Beautiful.
Like it's a lot of like Italian pasta sex references. So I love these movies. You definitely have to watch them.
And I believe that's his last role, Burgess Meredith, before he passed away, man.
Yeah, he actually even dies in this movie. Like this movie is one of those like sort of like fried green tomatoes movies that is old people eat up because it is funny, but there's also like some dramatic shit. You know, it's like about getting old and that shit too. So it's cool, man. And I think it's almost like a Christmas movie too. You know, like
it's close enough.
It happens in like the actual movie itself. So check it out, dude. I'm interested to see what you think of it.
I check out both of them if they're available. But on that same day in '95, Sudden Death premieres. A former fireman takes on a group of terrorists, holding the vice president and others hostage during the 7th game of the NHL Stanley Cup Finals. Directed by Peter Hyams, starring Jean-Claude Van Damme, Powers Booth, Raymond J. Barry, and Dorian Harewood.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those Jean-Claude '90s movies that it defies explanation. But one thing, we don't have to go deep, but he kills the Penguins mascot, who is actually a terrorist in disguise, and that's great.
This right here.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Steve, and this might be just besmirching somebody, but I think the writers of The Office in America stole the plot for Threat Level Midnight, the movie Michael Scott makes. They stole the plot because basically it's this movie. There's a terrorist plot that all happens in the NHL finals, and this guy's like basically going around a finals game killing people, and he might even there might be an explosive puck in this movie if I'm not mistaken, Steve.
Well, this screenshot behind me had me sold. Is that a fucking meat tenderizer that he's trying to kill?
Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, what happens to that guy is Jean-Claude somehow like ties a cord around his neck and it pulls him into some kind of meat grinder, and then he's like pulled into a meat grinder, and that's how he kills that guy.
I love it.
But I gotta also love it because it heavily involves Pittsburgh, so you gotta love that.
Fighting a fucking penguin, dude. That's a guile. And also in '95, Tom and Huck. Tom and Huck. Two best friends witness a murder and embark on a series of adventures in order to prove the innocence of the man wrongly accused of the crime. Directed by Peter Hewitt, starring JTT and Brad Renfrew.
In a movie that no one wanted, no one asked for. And Steve, I watched maybe 5 minutes of this, but this is not, I don't, JTT, we love you. You're a legend. Brad Renfro, rest in peace. Walt Disney, maybe dig a little deeper, guys. We don't need this.
Oh, you don't like my movie, huh? But also in '95, Waiting to Exhale. I feel like this is one of those coming of age. Based on Terry McMillan's novel, this film follows 4 very different African-American women and their relationships with men. Directed by Forrest Whitaker and starring Whitney Houston, Angela Bassett, Loretta Devine, and Lela Rochon.
Isn't Lela Rochon in Any Given Sunday? Isn't that Willie Beeman's girl?
Yeah, we have another one, another twofer that was in Any Given Sunday. But yeah, Lela Rochon was in that. She played Vanessa, Jamie Foxx's girlfriend, and I feel like this picture is kind of iconic from that movie, from Waiting to Exhale. It's about all four women finding their peace. They've been done wrong by their men, whether it's cheating, whether it's abuse, and was it Loretta Devine, her husband, played by Gregory Hines, she finds out he's gay. So they go through it. All four of these women, these men are just, you would have thought these men were characters in a Tyler Perry movie. Like they just going through the fucking ringer. And this is kind of symbolic because she's leaving it all behind. Fuck this car, fuck this house, starting a new life. And I'm gonna link up with Wesley Snipes at the end of this movie.
God, what a power couple that is right there. Wesley Snipes and Bassett.
Yeah.
I mean, look at, what's really wild to me is like that maybe proves that Angela Bassett is either like an angel or some sort of vampire. She doesn't look any different now. I saw her in Black Panther 2, and I'm almost convinced that they put a gray wig on her just to make her look old in that movie for a little bit. They were like, look, we got to figure out something here because they're going to find out. You're not aging, bitch.
She can bite my neck any day.
Please, dude. We should all be so fucking lucky. Yeah, but Waiting to Exhale, we weren't watching it, Steve, other than just maybe to see some of that.
Yeah,
maybe to see a little bit of that. I watched it too, but just we weren't going to the theater.
Fuck no. According to Whitney Houston's longtime bodyguard, David Roberts, Houston suffered a cocaine overdose during the film's production, and that's been reported. People covering this movie, yeah. So her habit started, a while ago, well before the 2000s, man.
That shit's so crazy, dude. I mean, they're making that movie that's coming out. Like, I think it's actually maybe just came out. That's like a biopic about it. Like, I wonder how much they'll like cover of that part of it. Because I mean, I feel like that, other than that, like the huge success, yes, but I mean, the astronomical like thing that happened at the end of her career, like how do you make a biopic and not discuss that a little bit? And that's wild. She OD'd on the set of a movie.
Yeah.
And they were like, look, we only got 30 days. So get some Narcan in her and get her out here. That's crazy.
And RIP to the legend, man. But also in 1995, the final episode of Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego airs on PBS. I had this on rotation when I didn't have other options in the afternoon.
Yeah, hell yeah. I mean, I didn't like Ghost Rider, and I think Ghost Rider was preceding this. So I'd wait. Ballpark. Yeah, and I like me some Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego. I actually had a video game like on the computer, like one of the first computer games I ever had, that to my memory, it was it came in this big ass computer game box. But one of the things, Steve, it came with like an almanac, like a huge fucking dictionary sized book that you had to like do some fucking research in and like find answers to questions in this game. And looking back, it's like, how am I not a super genius? What was I doing that I wasn't paying attention to this game or this show? Like I didn't retain any of that fucking knowledge, Steve. Chief would be furious at me.
Yeah, you wouldn't be a gumshoe, a good gumshoe. Gumshoes.
Rest in peace. Correct. Chief is passed.
Yeah. Yes, that's correct. She passed away, I believe, in the 2000s, and she's also known. Her voice is known from the Warriors back in the day, from the movie The Warriors.
Really?
Yeah, she was like the radio DJ that would kind of do the narration of what was going on in the streets.
Nice deep cut. I didn't know that. That's cool.
Really?
No. Warriors is a weird movie to me. I didn't. That came out because I think like after like Diddy did the shit in the one at the beginning of that one song, and I figured like somebody told me what that reference was. I came onto the Warriors shit. It's a weird fucking movie, but it's good. Yeah.
Lynn Thigpen is her name, and she passed away March 12, 2003 at the age of 54.
Damn, she was young. That's crazy. It sucks.
Cerebral hemorrhage. Yeah, man. How much of the theme song do you remember?
Where in the world is Carmen San Diego? That's it. I remember there was a lot of scoo bop doop a doop a boo up doop doop a boo up doop. Hold on, now I might get it. No, I don't know it.
Well, she'll ransack Pakistan and run a scam in Scandinavia. Then she'll stick 'em up down under and go pickpocket Perth. I said it off beat. She put the
But
miss
the
in
mix and
misdemeanor
misdemeanor when she
when she
stole the meat
stole
from
the beef from
Lima. Tell
Lima.
me
Tell
where in the world.
me.
I forgot, dude. I forgot they had a bang in that song. She went from Thailand to Thailand to Thailand to right back. And then the Pakistan thing comes in, I think. Hell yeah, Steve. Shout out
Do
to
the
whoever
Alex Wright
doo-wop,
days.
the doo-wop group that did that shit.
Yeah. Somehow, some way, they fit a barbershop quartet into all of this because why not? They say weed does bad things on Earth. I digress. Thank you, Carmen San Diego, for the memories. But in 1996, St. Louis Blues right wing Brett Hull scores his 26th NHL career hat trick to reach 500 career goals in a 7-4 win over the LA Kings. With father Bobby Hull, it would be the first father son combo to reach a record 500 goals.
Brett Hull. That's a famous hockey name I forgot about.
Oh, man.
Hulster? Brett Hull, the St. Louis Blues. The
Before
Saint.
I got
Go ahead. Sorry.
before I got knee deep into sports, Brett Hull, after Wayne Gretzky, after Mario Lemieux, I guess you could say Eric Lindros, like he was one of the other names I could pick out. Like, okay, Brett, he does that too.
Yeah, I think Brett Hull, if I'm not mistaken, had like a wicked fucking slap shot. I think so. I think that was like his signature move, if I'm not mistaken. But shout out Bret Hart, or I almost said Bret Hart.
He probably played a little hockey too, eh?
Definitely. I wonder if he did, Steve. Is Brett out there just fucking slamming fucking wristers and shit?
Oh, he was like a what do you call him? Uh, he had some kind of
Multi-sport athlete.
association with the Calgary Flames
Oh,
at some point.
he had like an honorary. He got like a 2-day contract or some shit.
Some shit. But somebody
Some
who probably didn't watch NHL on this day or anything Brett Hall at all in 1996 is probably your boy Steelers Cordell Stewart because he would run for a record 80 yards, a record for a quarterback for a touchdown.
Slash, dude. I have mixed emotions about Cordell Stewart because as groundbreaking as he was as a player, and he was one of the like he wasn't the first mobile quarterback or anything, but he at one point he punted, he ran shit back, he was slash, he did a bunch of shit, which
He
was
pushed
cool.
the envelope. He was the precursor to Mike Vick, to was it Lamar
Yep.
Alexander? Before those guys, he kind of walked, or should I say, rushed
Yeah,
so
and I
they could
mean he
sprint.
was successful. He got us to almost to the promised land, Steve. But the
Almost.
last time that he was a factor in my life was when we were living in the dorms, and he fucking just biffed a fucking playoff game against the Patriots, and he just could never put it all together. He would have some great stats, he would do some cool shit, and he'd win a good amount of regular season games, but everyone, when you wanted him to fucking throw that perfect pass, he'd throw a fucking perfect interception, Steve. And that to me is his legacy. It was just mediocrity.
Just pull the titty out and not let you fuck. I think
Yeah,
that's some shit.
I mean, it is. It seriously is that. And I mean, but he made me happy, and he was my quarterback through most of my formative years in Ohio. So, a lot of verbal abuse he took from the Ohioans, and I had to withstand that. And most of the time, it was great because he was fucking Cleveland Browns teams up for about a
Well,
good decade. So.
in the 90s, that wasn't really hard to do now, was it? I mean,
Is it
no,
ever hard to do, Steve?
still,
Let's be honest.
you know, I'll be Steve. Now, in 1997, Scotty Bowman of the Red Wings, he beat the Boston Bruins, or the Red Wings did, 4-2, giving him 200 wins with Detroit and making him the first NHL coach to record 200 wins with 3 different teams. It was also Montreal and Buffalo.
He got a good team in Detroit though. Those Red Wings, when we were living there and like going through school, they were always at the top of the NHL, even if they weren't winning Stanley Cups all the time.
Now, you could say right place, right time, but I mean, for him to have success in Buffalo and Montreal as well, and I guess it's the perfect storm because he had some hitters, as you said, man. There was Osgood, there was Iserman, all those guys who were like Hall of Famers now, man. And I
Yeah.
remember them going to the Cup and getting the Cup
Yeah, I had a
in the
friend that
'90s,
was
man.
huge into them that loved them. So I definitely remember the year they won it. And I think yeah, they were going up against like those Avalanche teams too, like back in
Yeah.
the day that were really fucking good. So it was just like, a good time for hockey, and especially if you were in Detroit, for sure.
Now, December 22nd, 1998, DMX will release his second album, Flesh of My Flesh, Blood of My Blood. And the releases from that were Slippin' and No Love for Me. This is his second album. In the same year, he released his first one, man. And
Damn, I didn't realize that.
we covered it earlier this year. It's Dark and Hell is Hot. And I feel like there aren't too many rappers in the history of hip hop who had a rollout like DMX before, because before his first album was released, he would be featured on songs with LL Cool J, Method Man, Redman, The Lox, Lil Kim, and people were anticipating DMX's debut album. I remember like people would have snippets, a couple tracks on a CD, and so when it was released, the shit went platinum in no time. And the same deal with this, man. It's at this point, I believe, more than triple platinum. And he's one of the few rappers to release 2 albums in the same year, man. Before him, it was Tupac, but Tupac's 2 albums, All Eyes on Me and Machiavelli, one of them was released posthumously, Machiavelli.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely had this one because I like Slipping and Falling. I definitely remember that song. And I mean, I remember this is one of the few things rap was weird in our school. Some people liked it, some people didn't like it. And I remember like my friends were like kind of hot and cold on it, but my neighborhood buddies all had this shit. I had this. This was definitely in my CD case, and it is wild to think that he did two albums in one year, like one of which being his first. And then if you think about it, we're about to talk about it. Like his songs were being featured in movies and shit too. Like what like a huge rise so quickly. That's dope.
His run, you could say from what, 97 to like 2001. Um, I mean, you could put that run up against a lot of cats, man.
Hell yeah. I mean, dude was a success. That's why he was kind of a danger to himself later in his life because he just had never ending money. And all the fuck ups he had, it was just like, well, fuck it. That's how successful. It is kind of crazy that people are getting ripped off, but somehow he got successful and he kept that fucking money somehow. So he must be a fucking cutthroat businessman too. That's cool.
And you could also throw in his first starring role in a film with Belly, with Nas around this time, as well as being in Woodstock. And like to see how the crowd was responding to
Jesus.
him. It was like he was Bruce Springsteen, who had already been there for decades. He was already a household name by the time he got to Woodstock, man. But he's one of one, as they say. And R.I.P. to that legend, man. There'll be no other.
Never.
Now, in 1999, Any Given Sunday premiered in theaters. It's directed by Oliver Stone, starring Al Pacino, Cameron Diaz, Dennis Quaid, James Woods, Jamie Foxx, LL Cool J, Matthew Modine, Charlton Heston, Anne Margaret again, Aaron Eckhart, and John C. McGinley.
Just hitter after hitter. And let us not forget that this is an Oliver Stone movie, and we've talked about a couple Oliver Stone movies, and this guy just was I'm trying to go back in his catalog and think of something I don't like, Steve. Because I mean, this motherfucker directed True Romance.
Romance.
I mean, he directed multiple Tarantino scripts, which I love in general. Natural Born Killers also.
He wrote
Um,
Scarface.
JFK he made. Yeah, fucking he wrote Scarface. This guy's a
Born on the Fourth
badass.
of July.
And this movie has a lot of his. I think he made Platoon too. He made a fucking Vietnam movie. I think it was Platoon,
Yeah.
which is probably how he got John C. McGinley. Like how he's because that dude was in that movie. He's using a lot of his actors in this. But this was a good movie, dude. I fuck the bullshit. I wanted to say some negative things about it because of the length. I think it's a little slow at times, but man, it's sort of I didn't appreciate it as much when I was younger, and now like seeing how the NFL is, I think this movie is insanely accurate back then, and even more so now, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, knowing what we know now and the dangers of CTE, and we mentioned him earlier, Lawrence Taylor, his character, he's basically playing himself, and his character's name is Shark LaVey, Luther Shark LaVey, and he's the battle-scarred veteran who just wants to stay in the game for at least one more. Y'all still got some dog in me, coach. Give
And
me
this
some
is
of
sort
that
of like
cortisone shit.
this is like the behind the scenes. They made a movie or a show kind of about like this kind of like tone too, with Omar Gooding, I think called Ballers or the some I forget what it was called, but um, it just kind of shows you like the not so pleasant aspects of the behind the scenes of this. So like Al Pacino's the aging coach legend. He's got this like team that's got a old quarterback that's like a Brett Favre type or a Steve, like an old dog that everyone
It's
loves.
it's kind of like when Brett Favre got older. It's like this Aaron Rodgers guy. Here he comes.
Yeah. And basically this movie is about like the changing of the guard and how football is changing and how positions change and like the politics of football and what was good, like every aspect from like the coordinators to the marketing to the ownership to the coaching to the players and like the little political shit that they get into. Like LL Cool J plays the one running back, and his whole thing is getting touches, so he gets a certain amount of like yardage and touchdowns, so he gets a bonus.
And
Like a lot of these
endorsements.
players are like, I got to get this bonus. Um, but there's like everybody kills it. The only thing I don't like about this movie, Steve, is Cameron Diaz. I don't think she's great in this movie.
Well, I will say, like, this is Cameron Diaz before she turned into an Aztec sandal. This is, get it while the getting's good, because that shelf life is, it's ticking. She's starting to look like her character in Being John Malkovich.
and and that's hilarious. I forgot she was in that shit. Frizzy ass hair. But like the football, like Stone gets some football legends. Jim Brown's in this. He's an assistant coach, amazing in this, and he's an actor anyway, so it's not really that far fetched. But like LT kills it, even though he is playing himself. He does a great job. And I mean, how can you not mention Jamie Foxx in this movie? This wasn't the first thing I clocked him in, but this is sort of, I don't know if you remember, like they were bringing him out as like a comedic actor. So he's in like Held Up. He was in some of those like low
Booty
budget,
Call.
exactly. And then he started getting rolled out, and this was a perfect vehicle. He gets to sort of play like this prima donna backup quarterback guy. And the one thing that I love about this movie that I wanted to make a point to bring up is that, we see the rise and fall and like this whole arc of Willie Beeman. That's who Jamie Foxx plays. And Willie Beeman's like a third string quarterback who gets brought in. They weren't expecting it. And he goes through some rough parts, but he's good.
Yeah.
But he's cocky and he's like taking over for a vet. And there's all this stuff happening. But what I never realized is that, Steve, the whole arc of this guy's, the dramatic arc that he's experiencing, it's not over a season. It's over like 3 games, and he starts, he does okay, gets a Metrics commercial of Steamin' Willie Beeman music video, and it's within like 4 weeks. Like he didn't even really do some shit, Steve. My name
He's
is
on the
Willie.
cover.
Willie Beeman. And all the ladies be creaming. On a Metrics commercial, Jamie? What the fuck?
On the cover of Sporting News, fucking Sports Illustrated. After a couple games.
Yeah, I mean he takes the world by storm. But I mean honestly, like if you watch NFL now, this is kind of what happens. You know, a guy goes out and then all of a sudden some guy comes in, like that Brock Purdy guy that came in for the 49ers. He does a couple of good things and people are like, "Do we need to take him out the starter and fucking put this guy in?" And like like the news cycle and like the intensity of these storylines, it's so like quick,
It's buzzworthy. Yeah.
you know?
It's kind of like the Asian guy that was playing in the NBA, Jeremy Lin. Like he had a couple games where he was just like amazing people, and this is like, oh my god, he was on the cover of a lot of shit. His story was featured in all these articles and stuff, man. And you know, here we are. Like you almost forgot about him.
I mean, for every like Patrick Mahomes and shit, there's a Gardner Minshew, some guy that's like, you know, he threw a nice pass. He won a game that you didn't expect some guy to win off the bench. But it's just like crazy. You know, your team is very you're a fan of a team that's in the news a lot. The news loves to cover the Cowboys. And I feel like you guys experience this all the time. Whether it's Dak Prescott having like he says like some shit and they're like, "Well, what does this mean? Cuz fucking Dak he's going to get traded next year." And it's like, "Wait, what the fuck?"
An old racist photo of your owner.
Yeah, exactly. Like all that shit. And this movie does a great job at that. And I think like to me, my favorite stuff is like, of course you love Al Pacino in this movie, but I think he does a great, like he's good at like the role he plays, this like tired coach that's sort of like, most of this movie, it seems like he's sort of like confused by the world that's going on around him almost. Like he's like too caught up in the lights of it all. He's like used to like a bygone era and shit. And that does change, but he does a great job at that. And he does great coaching speeches. He's got a bunch of those. And even when he's just like being sort of sad and like partying with Cameron Diaz's mom, you know, and shit, and you can tell he's just like sad, like all his friends are dead and stuff. Like there's just something great about him in this movie. It's not really, he's not like, you know, Scarfacing it up. I mean, he's yelling a lot and shit, but I think he killed this, you know.
And I believe that's Anne Margaret who
Yeah, it
played
is.
the yeah, man. So we got we had two twofers. And Cameron Diaz, she's the daughter of the owner, and she's chewing Al Pacino out throughout this movie, telling him what to do. Like, you know, we call the shots. We might have to let go of the Shark, LeVay. We might have to let go of Randy Quaid's quarterback character. Because, I mean, hey, man, this is a young man's game. And we might have to let go of you at the end of the season. How about that fly shit?
Yeah. And her dad, who is dead, was like this guy's best friend and like sort of they had all this success together. And it also is weird that, you know, this is a football movie and they do everything to like make it like the NFL, but they can't use the names. They mentioned the Dolphins a couple of times in this. So this isn't some world where this is like a league that exists aside from like, this is the XFL basically. Something like that, I guess.
It's not completely fictional.
Yeah.
They want to make it seem like these guys are in the league, and we see the rise and the downfall of Willie Beeman. You know, he gets that gust of fame, and you know the people are feeling him. He's in the commercials, all in the videos, singing and dancing. And you know, his girlfriend, who's played by Leela Rashan, her name is Vanessa, and she sees the shit up close. She's like, dude, you're already doing it. You're like not the same person anymore. Like why don't you like go fuck one of those groupies? And his attitude, he's like, bitch, I don't need you. Those weren't his exact words, but that was the attitude. Is like, you fat bitch. Fuck, maybe I will fuck one of these $1,000 whores.
And she goes for like, gets real personal too. She's like, you can't even fucking read, so you can't even understand the fucking playbook, you dumb motherfucker. And he's like, well, bitch, get the fuck out, you know. And they have that fight, and he kicks her out. And he very like, to me, when I was watching this, you know who this reminded me of? Antonio Brown. I was like,
Ooh,
he
perfect.
gets like success. He's great. I mean, he had more extended success than Willie Beeman did. But then, like, what I was thinking was hilarious and kind of goes into what I was saying about this quick arc. They bring him on a local Miami TV show, and he starts like talking shit about the owners and his team, and like
Coach.
like he doesn't give a fuck about anybody. I mean, in this movie, Willie Beeman will walk up like he like straight tells LL Cool J he's a washed up bitch and like shit like it's like a lot of that stuff where he has like he's arrogant. And that's kind of what I saw. Like he seems to do like that. He went crazy like Antonio Brown did and started just like it's like no one gives a fuck. No one wants to hear this shit, man. Like you can't be saying this shit if you want to have an NFL career, bro. Like,
Being a toxic teammate,
yeah,
man.
what are you doing?
And they actually had a real beef. Jamie
Yeah, they
Foxx
got
and
in a
LL Cool
fight.
J.
Hell yeah. I mean, Jamie Foxx
Yeah.
talked about it in that one stand-up special that he was
I
doing.
might need security.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I mean, they've made good now. They're friends now because it's like what it's LL Cool J. You ain't got no choice. Like shit. Yeah, every time you see each other, because you're both actors, you might cross paths. So you better make nice.
Well, and I mean, it was great for Oliver Stone because in this movie, like the two characters those guys play don't like each other very much for most of the movie. Like they get their heads together at the end, but for most of it, it's like LL Cool J's pissed at Willie Beeman because he's not getting touches, and like the thing about him getting his numbers, and Willie Beeman's talking shit about him and like changing plays and stuff. And yeah, dude, that is hilarious though because I remember in the stand up, Jamie Foxx was like, "Yo, man, you realize that this is just like I'm not this guy." This is words written on a page, man. Like this ain't real. But apparently LL Cool J was just really method with it, Steve, I guess.
And he's letting it get to his head because even Lawrence Taylor, the shark, invites him over to his house, man. It's like, man, it's gonna be bitches, it's gonna be blow, man. Michael Irvin's gonna be there. Shit. He's supplying it all, the bitches and the blow. And so Jamie Foxx or Steamin' Willie Beeman, he comes to the party and he's talking shit on the host. The motherfucker invited you into his home. He's like, man, I don't give a fuck about that washed up motherfucker, oh, concussion having ass. And then like word gets back because LL's character doesn't like him. So he goes back and tells Lawrence, and he's just like, look, man, he said this, that, and the third. And he's like, oh, really? That's how you feel? That's how you feel? Well, shit, fuck your car. And that's when he puts the chainsaw to his truck, man. And it's like, well, shit, how am I gonna get home? Motherfucker, you figure it out. Steaming.
LL's doing some blow ski off a stripper. That's great. And we let us not forget Jessie Spano herself is in this movie as a prostitute that's gold digging on Al Pacino, on Tony D'Amato. That's his character. And dude, I mean, Elizabeth Berkley, we can say a lot of things, but that bitch is sexy as fuck in this movie. Like,
She still is, bro.
God, I mean, in the Olive, they don't hesitate. There's some camera angles here. I mean, they don't. This is just this is some nice '90s sexiness. I love this.
I was so excited, so excited.
I'm fucking a hooker that looks like Jessie Spano.
Take me to Bayside.
Oh, she tickles him. It's so sweet, Steve. She's like one of those like nice hookers, she's putting all the money away to go to college.
And Willie, he gets checked. He gets a reality check because motherfuckers stopped blocking for him. He's getting racked. He's getting sacked. I think he got sacked about 6 times in one game.
Oh, that game, but that whole sequence though in the rain, that is one of the coolest looking sequences in film. Period. It's just so like stylized. It's cool.
And like now that he's slapped back into reality, man, he comes across Vanessa, his ex. He sees her at some poppin' nightclub, and he chases her down. And she's not trying to hear any of that shit because he's too volatile for her. And she's a simple girl who likes simple things, despite going to a poppin' ass Miami nightclub that professional athletes attend. I don't think that's simple.
That's what Kendra said. We were watching it. She's like, she's at the same fucking party he is. What the fuck?
That's not what simple girls stay the fuck at home and watch.
Yeah, man, get a fucking DiGiorno and watch some Netflix. We don't go to a Miami Coke party and fucking to have dinner. Like, she seemed like she was going out on a date to have dinner with that guy. I was like, what is the disparity here? Like, there's some guys doing blow off strippers' titties in a bathroom and they're about to have a nice lunch or dinner someplace. Like, I don't know. I don't want that to happen at the Denny's. You know, I don't want to be like shown up like that if I'm out on a date, Steve. But Jamie Foxx gets her in that bathroom and he charms his way. He's like, "Can I call you?" She's like, "Yeah, you could call me. Fuck that guy."
He wants that old thing back.
And one thing that's been like basically Willie Beeman got his shot because Randy Quaid's character Cap Rooney, who is this Brett Favre legendary quarterback, gets knocked out, and he gets knocked out bad. Um, the doctors sort of fluff shit sometimes, and like that's where James Woods comes in, is playing like the most scummiest of doctors. He's willing to just
Dr.
like do whatever.
Mandrake.
Exactly. And
Name.
you know, while Willie Beeman's sort of coming up, the politics behind the scenes is that Cameron Diaz's character, Christina Pagliacci, doesn't want the old dog to come back. She wants this new exciting team because she's trying to pull all these strings behind to maybe get a new stadium or move the team. So,
Yeah.
you know, eventually Randy Quaid is able to start playing again. And that's what everyone wants because Willie Beeman's been like sort of blackballing himself and like saying all this crazy shit. So
Yeah.
they get him back and they, you know, go back to this old guy and he's like got shell shock. He even tells Al Pacino, he's like, dude, I don't think I can do this shit anymore. And Al Pacino sort of like I guess like guilt tripped him. He's like, dude, come on, man. Like you're gonna make me fight. Like I got nothing else. Like I'm your guy. Like please, like don't do this. So he gets him to play. So Willie Beeman's forced to sort of go back on the bench, and this is where he sort of gets his he sucks it up. He like becomes the teammate everybody wants and proves and like sees that what he needs to be like a leader, be a quarterback, and we get all the way to the end. Like they make it to the playoffs. They get in the first game. Randy Quaid's playing. He plays his lights out, gets knocked out in halftime, and Willie Beeman takes over, and history is made, Steve. There's a new number one QB in the league after that game. And it's a great the like sort of climax of this movie and this whole movie in general, like the football action part of it, what they show and how they show it, insane. It's great.
Yeah. And I mean, I'd be remiss to not mention Jim Brown. He's like his lines are some of the best. One of my favorite is, "I don't get strokes, I give strokes."
We make this shit real fucking simple for you motherfucker, you dumb motherfuckers.
That's my boy, that's my sperm sucker. Did he call him a sperm sucker?
I don't know. But he'll say all that crazy shit, and then like at the end when he's sitting there talking to Tony and they're being all solemn and shit, talking about the old days, he's like, "Man, that's why I want to go back to high school, man, because the shit's pure, man." It's just like this like heartfelt. So I was like, "Damn, Jim."
Man, you be scaring the fuck out of them kids, man. You should not be coaching no damn team.
Yeah. Saying the same shit you're saying to LT, like, "Man, fuck those motherfuckers."
Give it some of that cortisone shit, Doc. Please.
That's the other great thing, man. LT's whole thing in this movie is he has so much brain damage that if he gets hit one more time, it could end his life, Steve. We don't know. And he begs to let them like be able to play in that last playoff game. And everything just like he gets everything he needs, and then like that last hit, Steve. I don't know what happens other than he like I don't think he's paralyzed, but something neurological happens there.
Yeah, because he laid that motherfucker out, man. And but he was glad that he didn't make the fucking play. And
did I stop him, coach? Yeah, you stopped him, man. Go take those brain cells back to the hospital, bud.
With that one fucking dangling earring, fucking kills me, dude. With the fuck and the gold teeth.
The gold teeth are because I mean it gives him a lisp and it just looks fantastic. I love it.
Yeah. Dude, I wish I could find this clip on YouTube. It's Lawrence Taylor being interviewed. This is around the time he had his drug deals or whatever. And he said something along the lines of, "Man, you find a person who I smoke crack or did drugs with, and I'll kiss their white ass, black ass, whatever ass." Like, I was like, "Oh my God, could I find it on fucking YouTube?" It's hilarious.
Do you know who Joey Diaz is?
Yeah, of
The
course.
he had like on one of those like his many stories he had in the 90s, he was like in a bathroom doing cocaine. He's like, Lawrence Taylor's fucking big ass came in, fucking scared the shit out of me, and was doing. He like, I think he sold him coke.
Lawrence Taylor sold him coke,
No, he
or
sold
he's
Lawrence Taylor coke in the fucking 90s
oh,
in some way, which makes sense, man. He was, he's it. Isn't he in Waterboy? Like, don't smoke crack.
yep. Or he either said that or don't do drugs or something.
Yeah, some shit
Um,
like that.
but in the closing credits, man, we see that Coach D'Amato, Al Pacino's character, he's actually going to another team. He's not retiring. And this kind of pump fakes Cameron Diaz because she's thinking this is like a retirement announcement. He's no longer going to be with us. He's going to head out to the pasture with blase blah AARP. But he's like, no, I'm actually going to another team. The show's not over yet, and I'm taking Steamin' Willie Beeman with me. And
I did my first action, sign Willie Beam. And I love the guy after he leaves. It's like,
hurts.
and even,
no
dude,
fun.
even a guy who's in this movie like 5 seconds is a top-notch superstar. Charlton Heston plays the NBA or the NFL commissioner in this shit. It's like,
Yeah.
was there any extras? Was there
Johnny
fucking
Unitas. Johnny Unitas was one of the coaches.
Yeah, I knew like they show a couple of guys. Dick Butkus is one of the coaches too.
Dick Butkus, Barry Switzer.
And Oliver Stone actually plays one of like the color commentary guy. He's like Barry Switzer's partner on the telecast.
Even
but I think
T.O. was in this movie.
Who is?
T.O. Terrell Owens.
Hell yeah, he is. Hell yeah, he is. I noticed that too. I didn't know it. I saw it last night. I was like, damn, I didn't know that shit. They show his face and everything. It's on the jersey.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. But I mean, this is two thumbs up. Like, there is no. The only negative thing I have to say about this movie is you could have cut 30 minutes out of it and it would have been a little bit more tight. But that being said, I'm not gonna hate on it. I really enjoyed watching it again. So, shout out.
The rallying speech that Al Pacino had before the playoff game, this was based on the real life speech by Marty Schottenheimer that he gave to the Browns during the AFC Championship game in '89, which they lost to John Elway, one of the many times. And,
I was gonna ask, like, if this was based off of any real, like, if Oliver Stone or whoever wrote this. I'm assuming Oliver Stone wrote this movie. So, like, did he ever indicate, oh, like I hung out with Jerry Jones, or that's who I sort of assumed maybe he was modeling some of this at, like just some of the antics and shit like that. It seemed like very 90s Cowboys.
Bits and pieces, man. And the house that Dennis Quaid's character Cap Rooney is in is Dan Marino's real house.
Yeah, he definitely. I mean, he looks like Dan Marino, but all the houses. I was just like, man, Al Pacino's house in this. I was like, this looks like something that the ladies' man would have, but it's not on a boat. It just is like some like swing pad. It looks like just a fuck palace, and it is because he's fucking Spano.
And did you know the original choice for Al Pacino's Tony D'Amato character?
I think I actually read this, but I don't recall who it was. Who is it?
Clint Eastwood. And he was only going to take the role if they let him direct it too. And I'm so glad they didn't let him direct, and i.e. not being in this fucking movie, because I'm sure it would have sucked.
Yeah, I mean, you could pick a lot of guys to try to pull this off, but I don't know. Al Pacino nailed it. He just is he's, like I said, this is one of those roles where it might not be exactly what you would expect from him, but he chews it up when he needs to. And that last speech he gives, I was getting fucking fired up. I was like, damn, I need to go do some fucking push-ups or something so I can look like that crazy roid freak guy that throws that alligator into the shower in the middle of the movie. That guy. Yeah. Yikes.
Fucking weirdo. And unbelievable, man. But Sean Combs was initially cast as Willie Beeman. And I guess due to scheduling conflicts with him touring, and they also said when they tried him out, they could tell that he didn't have an athletic bone in his body. Whereas Jamie Foxx, who actually played high school football, it was more natural. Sean Combs, what were y'all thinking? Like, I'd love to see him throw a football. Get out of here, jazz hands.
He's gonna diddy bop down the field, Steve. He's a mobile
True.
quarterback.
He throws like a ferry. And one last fun fact, it's a coincidence that Al Pacino and Jamie Foxx won their first Oscar in a year that they were nominated in 2 acting categories. Not only that, but they both won their lead performances for blind characters.
Oh, son of a bitch.
Crazy shit.
I'm fucking Jesse Spano and Jamie Foxx is trying to finger fuck some. Dude, here's the thing. Who else could apply? It's crazy when you watch a movie and it's like you can always sort of pick people to like be an alternate. I can't really think anybody else, like off the top of my head at the time. This is just like perfect casting.
All around, man. It's just flooded with stars, dude. I mean, you got rappers, you got an MTV VJ, you got a stand-up comedian, fucking Scarface. God damn, man.
I mean, even Aaron Eckhart, again, like these guys who were like C-level parts in this movie are huge stars. I mean, Aaron Eckhart was fucking Two-Face and goddamn Batman, for God's sake.
And speaking of Batman, also in '99, Man on the Moon premiered in theaters. The life and career of legendary comedian Andy Kaufman, starring Jim Carrey, Danny DeVito, Courtney Love, and Paul Giamatti. Fucking pig vomit. Directed by Milos Forman. And Danny DeVito and Jim Carrey both played Batman villains. Fun fact.
Damn, you got some good like little Snapple facts in here. I like this. But yeah, this movie, I mean, I'm interested to see what you think of it. I will forever give appreciation to Jim Carrey because he did this. He like nailed this. This is and you perfectly captured this guy, Andy Kaufman. But the movie, I'm never gonna watch it again. It's boring. It's fucking boring as shit.
Well, you know the story. Like I knew the story before the movie came out, man. I think they had a True Hollywood story on the man, and like Andy Kaufman's life has been documented in several ways. But he was very method, as it's been reported. They even had a documentary on how deep into the fucking Kaufman rabbit hole he went, man. And he actually requested that everyone on set refer to him as Andy Kaufman.
I don't, Steve, as much as I respect that kind of thing, I don't understand it. I gotta feel like if you're a grip on the set and you're just like trying to move some shit and you look over and you're like, "Hey Jim, can you move?" He's like, "Call me Andy." It's like, shut the fuck.
And like one of the things I didn't like when I watched the movie years after it was released, David Letterman didn't want to play ball. He refused to use prosthetics, and it showed. It stood out because they wanted to replicate everything from the time it happened originally, man.
Yeah.
And I'm watching this and I'm like, dude, this looks like David Letterman now PM. Like you guys didn't want to go through the route of just throwing a little bit of makeup to make him look younger, give him that late night fucking NBC fucking vibe. No, but yeah, it was David Letterman's refusal to do so because, as you know, we all know he's not a movie guy. He hasn't been in too many.
I mean, Lawler did it. The King did it. You're better than royalty, Dave. I mean, I respect you, but that's weird. But yeah, I mean, the thing I don't like about this movie, Steve, Courtney Love. I don't like that.
There's that.
I don't enjoy that, and it's just it's a slow burn. And you're probably right. I think more of the boredom for me is that you just know this. Like people our age just sort of were fed this. We were wrestling fans too, so we sort of got a portion of the story many times over because we watched Jerry the King Lawler and knew about him. But again, it's one of the best biographical portrayals of somebody I've ever seen. Like, you said about Ray, that was great. This, I mean, he nailed it. It's just one of those movies where, I'm not the biggest Andy Kaufman fan. I appreciate the weirdness that he brought to the world and what he was willing to do, but yeah, I just, other than this being a historically great acting portrayal, just that is what it is, you know?
Well, I mean, maybe you're not giving him his flowers like it should, because he was before our time. I think we were before we were even born. I think he had passed, man. But like, you know, I watched Taxi back in the day, and the man had an interesting story because I feel like he's the godfather of a certain realm of stand-up comedy. He wasn't like your typical stand-up comedian that went up and told jokes and made people laugh, like a Carlin, a Pryor, or even a Robin Williams. He, I feel, is like before he is the precursor to Sacha Baron Cohen, where like he kind of like has this a lot of gray area. Is he being real? Are we being trolled? I'm trying to think of another example. Eric Andre, maybe.
Yeah, I
You
think
know,
Tim and Eric also. It's just like the commitment to something weird. It's like this isn't supposed like he would get on stage and do that thing where it would just be him reading and then he'd be like "Oh, da, 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 da," and it was just it was the weirdness. He was just such a singularly bizarre guy who not only did those weird things, but he would be willing to take it to the point where people were, I mean, they wanted to like rip him apart, basically.
it showed courage, man. And I mean, even in this movie, Jim Carrey pissed off Jerry Lawler, just like originally Andy Kaufman did. But that was shtick. But Jim Carrey actually got slapped when they redid that on the David Letterman show. They say he slapped him harder than he ever hit Andy Kaufman because
That's
Jim
great.
Carrey, he was just that obnoxious, man.
That's awesome. See, now I like it. Now I need to go back and watch it, Steve.
And Jerry Lawler offered to do this movie because initially Disco Inferno was going to play Jerry Lawler's role, and Jerry stepped in like, whoa, hold the fuck up, no, hold the horn, no, 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 I'll do
Disco
the shit.
Inferno.
Yeah, yeah. I don't blame you, Jerry.
Alex Wright was like, "Don't go." We
Das
have a tag
Wunderkind.
team match. We can't.
Now, any Jingle Bells, Batman smells, Robin Lane eggs?
Well, we talked about it, Steve, I think, but maybe we weren't on we weren't recording, but I watched that Cleo Who is Miss Cleo documentary on HBO, and for 90s aficionados, 90s fans, not only is it a look back at something that was a huge thing in the 90s, the psychic hotline, Psychic Friends Network and Miss Cleo, but I love that they had 90s celebrities. Um, Raven Simone and the chick from Mad TV.
Deborah. I feel like it's
Deborah,
Deborah's.
Deborah Wilson.
Deborah Wilson.
Looking kind of crazy, but kind of hot too, Steve. There's something, I mean, I don't want to be coarse, but there's something about her where I'm intrigued.
She's rocking that baldness.
Yeah, she is. And she's very, she seems very emotional though. Like she's very almost emotional about this. And maybe it's because she feels bad about like making fun of her on the Mad TV a little bit, but yeah, it was cool, man. It was a cool documentary and it sort of shed some light on some stuff that I wasn't aware of. And I think it makes Miss Cleo, like, rest in peace, by the way. It makes that woman sort of, I think it really paints her in a great light.
Yeah, because it showed that she was a genuine soul, man. Like she just happened to be caught up in the bullshit greed of, what was it, the PRN hotline,
And
she didn't
also,
own
like,
it.
the one thing I didn't understand, and maybe whatever it was, but she was just she had blood lineage from like to Jamaica, but she wasn't Jamaican. So
She wasn't born there. Yeah,
she was putting on some affectation with this Jamaican accent. But that being said, like, to me, when I was starting the documentary, I was like, oh man, we're gonna find out some juicy shit about that chick. Like there's some dirt she was doing, or like she's gonna be on here like in a restaurant. Like, get the fuck away from me without, we're gonna find some like sinister shit. But she was just like, she figured out a hustle. Somebody made her, sort of like elevated her to be like the face of this brand, greedily. Like they made a lot of money off this lady, but ultimately, whether or not she knew what was going on, she seems just like a sweet lady that, whether or not you believe in that stuff, like the tarot cards, you know, it can bring people comfort just to like talk to somebody and get, even if it's bullshit. And I don't think she was trying to hurt anybody or like bilk anybody really. That's the one thing I got out of her. Whereas like she really, yeah, I don't think she knew exactly how much money was being made because she wasn't making it. And to me, that's the only thing that I would have thought was probably sinister on her end. So it was cool.
But
man.
we all thought she did at the time. We thought she was raking in dough.
And I mean, that's why Deborah Wilson, like, she was talking about like sort of maybe how she regretted it and like, you know, her take on how she portrayed her and stuff. And you can tell that, and we all believe that, and even she did. Like, you thought she was literally like the face of this company making all this fucking money, and she was very much not that.
It's always somebody behind the scenes.
What about you, bud?
Well, I gotta say, man, we're taking a break. That needs to be said. This is our last show of the year, our 100th episode. So yeah, we'll revisit and we will return in January for season 3.
My God, man. And this shit's only gonna get better, man. We've been talking about a lot of stuff, and I think now, you know, we're just two normal guys that are doing this, everyone. Like, we don't have a lot of money, and we're just trying to like do this on our own with no budget. And I think like we're settling into something here that I just, if nothing else, really enjoy doing. But I definitely am committed to just keep doing it. And I think this next year we're really gonna, as many upgrades as we've already had, Steve, I think we're gonna continue to do that, and I'm looking forward to it.
Same here, buddy. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Tell your sister, ain't no other cats got love for me. Ain't no cats gonna bust slugs for me. Ain't no cats gonna shed blood for me. But my dogs is gonna be a thug for me. Come on. Please listen to Over the Culture every Sunday. Crushgasm with Kendra every Wednesday. B3F Podcast with Joey and Steve. And don't worry, B-Movie with Amanda and Wade. This is Steve G and Matt G with
Happened in the 90s. Episode 100.
Funky butt loving. Did he say funky butt loving? Oh.